I'm Katie Couric. A nosedive on Wall Street where worries include the home foreclosure crisis. Tonight, some tips for saving your house. Also tonight, new troubles for NASA, including astronauts flying drunk and, yes, sabotage. Howls from animal rights activists as quarterback Michael Vick is arraigned on dogfighting charges. And a little TLC from a tender-loving cat named Oscar, the hospice pet who seems to know when the end is near.
He will curl up on the bed almost to comfort that person through their last hours.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Hello, everyone. Well, we hope you had a better day than Wall Street did. This was one of the worst days of the year for the markets. The Dow plunged more than 300 points, the biggest point drop in 5 months. Since hitting a record high a week ago, the Dow has now given up more than 500 points. We begin our coverage tonight with Kelly Wallace.
The closing bell couldn't come soon enough for Wall Street watchers. The Dow plummeted. At one point, more than 400 points due to mounting worries about housing, higher oil prices, and an ever-tightening credit market.
These aren't all brand new worries, but they were all sort of accentuated today by some clear evidence that some of our fears are coming true.
One of those fears, that the real estate market is hurting more than previously thought. New home sales for June were worse than expected, down 6.6% from May. National home builders reported significant losses for the third quarter, and those numbers come on top of skyrocketing defaults for homeowners with poor credit and concerns defaults may spill over to borrowers with good credit.
We expected things to be bad, but not as bad as they came in.
Also affecting the market, say analysts, a sign the era of easy credit is over. Lenders are tightening their standards, and that's holding up huge corporate deals like Chrysler's pending sale and making home mortgages more expensive and difficult to get.
It's a credit crunch in the sense if you can't get the credit, you can't do whatever it is you wanted to do. You can't buy the house, you can't buy the car.
And Main Street can affect Wall Street.
The stock market going down is a negative signal to a lot of businesses, a lot of consumers, that maybe they need to cut back on their spending. And that has a negative impact on the economy going forward.
The market has been moving briskly in the upward direction for almost a year. The question now is whether today's sudden point drop is a minor correction or will have a major impact on the economy. Kelly Wallace, CBS News, New York.
Ken Polcari is Managing Director of ICAP Equities. Ken, we just heard one analyst say that the stock market going down is a negative symbol and portends bad news for the economy. But you actually welcome this.
I did. I actually welcome the fact that the market has a little bit of a correction. If you remember and you've seen over the last couple of months, the market has had really this great move up. Without any real pullback. Today, the market took advantage of, we're right in the middle of earnings season. It took advantage of a couple of negative earnings stories and people just decided that they needed to take some money off the table. I, for one, am not at all concerned about it. I think it's healthy. As we go through this earnings season, every day there's going to be a new story. If tomorrow some of the earnings are great, you're going to see the market bounce back a little bit. If they continue to be a little bit negative, you might see a little bit more pressure on the market. I'm not concerned about it at all.
So any advice, Ken, for the individual investor as this roller coaster continues, at least in the short run?
The individual investor has to decide why they're in the market. If they're more of an active trader type person, then they should absolutely be taking advantage of the volatility that we see happening in the market at the moment. If you're much more of a long-term investor, then they should be taking advantage of this weakness in the market because they're looking out much more long-term.
Ken Polcari, thanks so much.
Thank you, Katie. It was my pleasure.
Later in the broadcast, we'll continue our series on the troubled housing market with a look at how you can avoid losing your home. But right now, from the woes on Wall Street to new troubles for NASA, an act of sabotage and a NASA commission which has reportedly discovered cases of astronauts flying drunk. Here's Nancy Cordes.
On at least 2 occasions, astronauts were allowed to fly even after flight surgeons warned they were dangerously drunk. That's according to the magazine Aviation Week and Space Technology, which obtained a copy of new findings by a NASA health panel.
The talk in the hallways of NASA is that one of these incidents was a Soyuz launch and another was a T-38 jet flight.
The Soyuz is Russia's primary spacecraft, on which an American astronaut would basically be along for the ride. A T-38 is a high-speed jet used by NASA for training.
This is extremely embarrassing, especially in the wake of the Lisa Nowak arrest. You know, the thought of an astronaut getting on board in any kind of inebriated condition is a very serious thing indeed.
It was the arrest of Nowak, a shuttle astronaut who allegedly attempted to kidnap a romantic rival in February, that prompted NASA to commission a review of astronaut health issues.
I think really it's best to probably inappropriate for us really to discuss this report.
Today, NASA officials refuse to talk about the alcohol findings. They're focused on a new problem, an apparent act of sabotage. Wires cut in a computer that is supposed to fly on the shuttle Endeavour in less than 2 weeks.
It's currently being investigated by the Inspector General's office. It's a subcontractor on the space station side. We'll fix the hardware. We'll get ready to go fly.
The astronaut health findings are due to be released tomorrow, and NASA may have more to say about them then. The space agency has a long-standing bottle-to-throttle rule. Absolutely no drinking 12 hours before a flight. Nancy Cordes, CBS News, Washington.
Now to the scandal that has rocked pro football. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Vick pleaded not guilty today to federal dogfighting charges. But before he faced the judge in Richmond, Virginia, he had to face hundreds of animal rights activists. Here's our national correspondent, Byron Pitts.
Last year, the Atlanta Falcons entered the opening day of training camp with their superstar. Today, Michael Vick entered federal court in Richmond without his trademark braids, his usual posse of friends, or the adulation of adoring fans. Vick is the star suspect in a four-man dogfighting case that drew animal rights protesters from across the country.
If you look at these poor dogs, you know, they were never given a chance. They were bred, trained, drugged, and then put in a pit to tear each other to shreds.
According to the 15-page affidavit, Vick, a cousin and two friends, ran a dogfighting business out of this house Vick owns in Virginia called Bad News Kennels. In grisly detail, prosecutors allege dogs that lost in the fighting pit were often shot, hanged, drowned, or electrocuted.
These are mere allegations, and these allegations are nothing that has been proved.
Vick's hired an all-star legal and marketing team. Attorney Billy Martin, who once represented Monica Lewinsky, read a statement from Vick.
I respectfully ask all of you to hold your judgment until all of the facts are shown.
The facts so far have shed new light on an underground blood sport that is illegal in all 50 states.
I think that what the issue here is that dogfighting has become more and more popular in the past 10 to 15 years, particularly in the urban areas.
It's his skill on the field and his street cred off of it that have made Michael Vick one of the most marketable pro athletes of his era. He earns an estimated $25 million a year in salary and endorsements. All that in jeopardy now, or is it?
Other players have gone to prison, and someone's going to take a shot on them.
If convicted, Michael Vick faces up to 6 years in prison. His trial starts in November. Byron Pitts, CBS News, Richmond.
Turning now to Cuba, where they celebrated Revolution Day today, exactly 1 year after Fidel Castro was last seen in public. His younger brother Raul was acting very much like the new man in charge. Kelly Coviella is there.
Raul Castro took center stage not to speak on behalf of his brother, but surprisingly to speak on behalf of the country. Those who are amazed at our people's capacity to rise to the level of every challenge do not know them very well, he said. In what could be described as a stirring State of the Union address, the younger Castro acknowledged his country's problems, warned solutions would be slow to come, and extended an olive branch to the next administration in Washington. It would be a welcome change, he said, if the new administration would accept the offer to sit down and talk.
This is an important speech for Cubans. It laid out the guidelines for our future.
Viva la revolución! 70% of Cuba's 11 million people have never known another leader. It marks a sea change from a year ago when illness forced Fidel Castro to temporarily hand over power to his brother. Since then, he's only been seen on video, at first frail, but looking healthier in this interview shot in June. Even so, today's speech made it clear who's running the country. Nearly a year after taking the reins of government, Raul Castro has established himself as Cuba's leader and kept the country stable. It is a major change for Cubans, but it is the only major change. On the streets of Havana, musicians are still singing for tourists' tips to supplement meager salaries. This man makes the equivalent of $25 a month as a store security guard.
Even though I got a raise a few months ago, it's still not enough.
And the perennial shortages in housing and transportation haven't gone away. Everyone expects something better, says this woman, and while publicly most say they're willing to wait, privately some admit they're growing impatient. Kelly Kobiella, CBS News, Camagüey, Cuba.
Here at home, the families of the 3 Duke lacrosse players falsely charged with rape got what they wanted today. Disbarred former prosecutor Mike Nifong gave them an unqualified apology and acknowledged there was no credible evidence the players committed the crimes. He said he hopes the healing process can now begin. Nifong appeared at a court hearing to determine if he should be held in criminal contempt. And in Pennsylvania, a court ruling today in an immigration rights case that could have a ripple effect across the country. A federal judge said a crackdown against illegal immigrants in the city of Hazleton is unconstitutional. A law there fines landlords who rent to illegal immigrants and denies permits to employers who give them jobs. There is much more CBS News ahead, including a cat named Oscar who seems to have supernatural powers. He knows when someone's about to die. But up next, the foreclosure crisis, what you can do to avoid losing your home. As we told you at the top of the broadcast, Wall Street is worried about the slump in the housing market, especially all those foreclosures. Look at this. In the second quarter of the year, foreclosures in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, shot up more than 300%. In Flint, Michigan, nearly 1,000%. Visalia, California, more than 1,500%. But there are ways to avoid losing your home, as Hari Srinivasan reports in our special series, Real Estate, Real Solutions.
This time last year, Donna Young was searching for answers. The mother of 4 was going through a divorce, was nearly $4,000 behind on her mortgage, and close to losing her suburban Atlanta home.
I started feeling depressed, very stressed, needless to say, because I felt like everything that I worked so hard for and to gain was falling apart.
She was smart enough to ask for help from the Impact Group, a nonprofit organization that put her through a financial education class, got her on a budget, and convinced her lender to excuse her delinquency by allowing her to pay an extra $300 each month to catch up.
Come on, Anna. Okay.
With the forecast on foreclosures grim, housing advocates and lenders have launched an ad campaign to persuade homeowners to seek help before it's too late.
Foreclosure doesn't affect just you, it affects your whole family too.
Foreclosures impact everyone. A recent congressional report found that between homeowners, lenders, neighborhood property values, and loss to local government, the average foreclosure costs $80,000. Preventing a foreclosure costs a little more than $3,000. Those heavy losses have taken a toll in Arlington, Texas, where city leaders are now putting foreclosure prevention information in with the city's water bills.
The best time to act is before you even miss that first payment.
According to lender Freddie Mac, nearly half the people who have their homes foreclosed never have a conversation with their lender.
Every year, 1 million families face losing their homes to foreclosure.
These public service announcements encourage homeowners to get help.
Call 1-888-995-HOPE, because nothing is worse than doing nothing.
To avoid scams, go online to HUD.gov to make sure your credit counselor is an approved agency. Communicate with your lender as soon as you know you'll miss payments or be late. And negotiate repayment plans. You may be allowed to delay payments or add past due amounts to the balance of your mortgage and extend it over a longer period of time.
Just hang in there.
Donna Young did, and she still has her home to prove it. Hari Srinivasan, CBS News, Arlington, Texas.
Now, if you're trying to sell a home in this buyer's market, tomorrow the pros and cons of ditching your broker. When we come back, Army brass face punishment in the cover-up of Pat Tillman's friendly fire death. Still more American casualties in Iraq. The military today announced the deaths of 7 U.S. servicemen. 3 Marines and a Navy sailor were killed in Diyala province. 2 soldiers were killed in Baghdad and a Marine in Anbar province. Meanwhile, there's an update tonight in the case of Pat Tillman, the NFL star turned Army Ranger who was killed by friendly fire in Afghanistan. Several top Army officers are expected to face punishment next week for providing misleading information about how Tillman died. Kimberly Dozier is at the Pentagon.
It was a tragedy compounded by deceit, a cover-up of how football star turned war hero Pat Tillman was killed by friendly fire. Army officials tell CBS News that 7 officers will be punished, including the commanding officer who knew at Tillman's memorial service how the Army Ranger died. Lieutenant General Philip Kensinger lied to the family and later to Army investigators about what he knew when. He's one of 4 generals the Secretary of the Army will recommend be punished. As Kensinger is retired, the Secretary of Defense will have to sign off on his punishment, which may include everything from stripping one of Kensinger's 3 stars to a letter of censure. The tragedy took place in this narrow ravine 3 years ago. Insurgents opened fire on one group of Rangers. When the Rangers, including Tillman, fired back, the second half of the Ranger Patrol opened fire on their own. But it took a congressional hearing and an Army investigation to get to the truth. The soldiers were even ordered to lie to Tillman's brother and fellow Ranger Kevin, who'd been at the rear of the patrol.
We believe this narrative was intended to deceive the family, but more importantly, to deceive the American public.
The family has called the cover-up a disgrace to their son's memory.
The Secretary of the Army expects to make his final ruling on specific punishments by early next week. He wants the Tillman family to hear the news first. Kimberly Dozier, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Troubles are mounting for Attorney General Alberto Gonzales. FBI Director Robert Mueller is now contradicting Gonzales's testimony about a 2004 hospital room meeting with then Attorney General John Ashcroft. Gonzales has said the meeting was not related to a secret eavesdropping program, but today Mueller testified that it was. Also today, 4 Senate Democrats requested appointment of a special counsel to investigate whether Gonzales committed perjury while testifying about the firings of U.S. attorneys. Meanwhile, the Senate Judiciary Committee today subpoenaed White House advisor Karl Rove to testify about those firings, but it's doubtful he'll appear. Several current and former Bush administration officials have declined to testify, citing executive privilege. Coming up next, a cat with 9 lives and a 6th sense. How Oscar knows when it's time to say goodbye. Finally tonight, if you're a cat lover or even if you're not, there's a cat in Rhode Island we felt we just had to tell you about. He has a very special ability to predict the future. Here's Richard Schlesinger.
Anyone who knows and loves cats knows and loves the fact that there are some things about them we can never know. And Oscar the cat, who lives amongst terminally ill patients at the Steer Nursing Home in Providence, Rhode Island,
Oscar,
seems to have one especially inexplicable ability.
we've noticed that if someone's in the dying process, he will curl up on the bed almost to comfort that person through their last hours.
Mary Miranda and her colleagues didn't notice it just once or twice.
He's done this 25 times in the 2 years he's been with us.
And he's never been wrong?
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like clockwork. 2 to 4 hours before someone dies, Oscar shows up.
Quite often, this is actually the first trigger for the nursing staff to realize that somebody may be actually about to expire.
Oscar's eerie ability caught the eye of Dr. David Dosa, who treats patients here and teaches at Brown University. He was so impressed he wrote about Oscar, who's just about 2, in today's issue of the prestigious New England Journal of Medicine.
I think Oscar is a truly remarkable cat.
Oscar's unique talents can mean the world to patients with so little time left. It's not just that he lets the medical staff know when the end is near, but Dr. Dosa believes the cat might make it a little easier for patients to die.
He absolutely provides an unbelievable service to the patients that he serves.
So this is no joke.
This is no joke. He is able to provide compassionate care for patients that might otherwise die alone.
So how does he do it? How does Oscar know? Dr. Nicholas Dodman is one of the world's most renowned animal behaviorists.
When they perceive something we can't, we say, you know, it's magic or it's a mystery. In fact, it's just their superior senses in that respect.
Whatever motivates Oscar, he is dedicated to his role. He never leaves this floor voluntarily and seems interested almost solely in his mission.
He is not a cat that will spend quality time with residents on the ward unless they're about to die.
And he's just a cat. Oh, sure. He's miserable half the time. Lays all over my charts, won't let me get my work done, and wants his treats and then be left alone. But then when he feels that there's something wrong, he steps right up.
And for that, he has been cited by a Rhode Island Hospice Association. The Oscar Award hangs near where he works and lives. One cat unlike any other, at least most of the time. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, Providence, Rhode Island.
And that is the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.